Welcome everyone to where we are putting together solutions for those math and science topics that we are getting problems with. Today we will be doing computation and number theory past paper questions in CSEC Mathematics. We will be doing all the questions that came from May from 2014 until 2018. Feel free to like the video and add any comments so that we can help you in any math or science topic in CSEC or KEY. Let's take a look at our topic and where it lies in the syllabus. As we can see, there are 10 major topics, the first of which is the area of our focus today, computation and number theory. This topic is tested with 3 questions in the multiple choice and the first of 10 questions in paper 2, the long paper, which is worth 9 marks out of 100. 2014 number 1A question simply says to find the solution for 5.25 divided by 0.015. We can use our calculators, which are allowed in this paper, and solve, and it gives us 350. In part 2, what's the square root of 6.5025? And using our calculator, we get 2.55. And finally, in the third part, they're asking for the solution to 3 significant figures. So first we work it out. 3.142 times 2.236 squared, and that will give us, using our calculators, 15.70904483. Now, let's recall that when we're doing significant figures, it's just another means of approximation. So we look for the number which has the most value. That will be our first significant figure, and that will be the first non-zero number on the left, which is 1, because the value of that is 10. The second will be 5, and the third will be 7. So we underline the 7 and we look to the number to the right of it. The number to the right of the 7 is a 0. As such, that will not affect our 7. So our answer will be 15.7. In May 2015, number 1A, it says to reduce the following fraction to the lowest. As such, 2 2/5 minus 1 1/3 plus 3 1/2. The operations are subtraction and addition. And for both of them, the first step will be to change the mixed number to an improper fraction. So 2 2/5 means that we're cutting up the wholes into 5 parts. 2 parts, 2 wholes will mean 5 and 5 10 parts, and 2 more will be 12 over 5. The second, 1 1/3, means we're cutting up the 1 whole into 3 parts. So that gives us 3 and 1 more, that's 4 over 3. And the last one, 3 1/2, means 3 wholes, each one is cut up into 2 parts. So that's 2 and 2 4 and 2 6, and 1 more, 7 over 2. As such, this gives us 12 over 5 minus 4 over 3 plus 7 over 2. Please note that we write them vertically downwards. Keep one under the other so you can easily see how this flows. Now we look at step 2, which is to check if each fraction has the same denominator. The denominators are 5, 3, and 2. So we need to work out the LCM, or the common denominator. There are many methods to do it, one of which is to look at the multiples of each. So the multiples would be of 5 is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, continuous. And the multiples of 3, which are the same with 5, will be 15, and 30, and 45, and 60. And the multiples of 2, which are the same, will be 30, 60. So therefore, 30 will be the easiest method. There are other methods to do this. We can multiply all 3 numbers together. Many methods. So if we use 30 as our common denominator, then we need to convert each of the fractions into a new fraction out of 30. So 12 over 5 is equal to something over 30. How do we go from 5 to 30? We multiply by 6. So 5 times 6 is equal to 30. So if you multiply by 6 below, we multiply the numerator by 6. 12 times 6 is equal to 72. So 12 over 5 is equivalent to 72 over 30. And if we reduce 72 over 30, we should be getting 12 over 5. Now we change 4/3 to something over 30. So 3 times what will give us 30? 3 times 10. Multiply by 10 below. Similarly on top, 4 times 10 is equal to 40. And finally, how do we go from 7 over 2 to something over 30? 2 times what will give us 30? 2 times 15. And if we multiply by 15 below, then we multiply by 15 on top. 7 times 15 is equal to 105. As such, the second line where we had 12 over 5 minus 4/3 plus 7 over 2, we can now rewrite it with one denominator for all of them, one common denominator being 30. So that gives us 72 minus 40 plus 105. Notice we still try to write them vertically downwards, one under the other. Now we can solve this. 72 minus 40 is equal to 32. 32 plus 105 is equal to 137. So our solution will be 137 over 30. That is an improper fraction, so we can use our calculators and use the fraction function to convert it, or we can simply do a division. 30 into 137 is 4, and what's the remainder? 17. So our mixed number solution will be 4 and 17 over 30. In part 2 of this question, it asks for 4.15 divided by 5.75 in brackets plus 1.62 squared. So we can work out the brackets. 4.15 divided by 5.75 using our calculator will give us 0.72, and 1.62 squared gives us 2.6244. As such, we can solve, giving us 3.3444. Now in part 3, 2 times 3.142 times 1.25, and simply substitute into our calculator, and we will get 7.855 for 1 mark. And in part 4, what's the square root of 2.89 times tan 45 degrees? Well, the square root of 2.89 is equal to 1.7 times tan 45. Remember to make sure your calculator is in degrees, not in rad or grad. Okay, make sure it's set in degrees. So tan of 45 will give us 1. If it is in one of the other functions, then it will give us a different answer, which is incorrect. At our level, CSEC Math, our unit for measuring angles will be in degrees. So 1.7 times 1 is equal to 1.7. In May 2016, number 1A, the question says to divide 3 3/8 minus 2 1/4 all over 1 1/2. As such, since the division sign is across the whole numerator, the first we will do is to work out the top. So 3 3/8 minus 2 1/4. If we change the mixed number to an improper fraction, then 3 wholes, each cut into 8 parts, will give us 8 plus 8 plus 8, or 3/8, which are 24. And 3 more parts, so 24 and 3 is 27 over 8, minus 2 1/4, which means we're cutting 2 wholes, each into quarters. So that'll be 4 and 4, 8, and 1/4 is 9, so 9 over 4. We can now look at step 2. Check if each fraction has the same denominator. The first fraction, the denominator is 8, and the second fraction, the denominator is 4. Now there's a shortcut to this in which we can say that 4 goes into 8, so we can ignore it. Therefore, we can use 8 as the common denominator for both of them. Or I will go through the working as before, where 27 over 8 will, when we multiply by 1, below 8 by 1 is 8, and 27 by 1 is 27. That was straightforward. But I'm putting it just in case you get confused. And then the 9 over 4, we converting that to something over 8. 4 times 2 is equal to 8. And if we multiply by 2 below, we multiply by 2 on top. 9 times 2 is equal to 18. So we can rewrite our third line of working. 27 over 8 remains the same. minus 9 over 4 is converted to 18 over 8. Since the denominators are now the same, we can solve. 27 minus 18 is equal to 9, 9 over 8. We can now substitute back into our original equation where our next line gives us 9 over 8 divided by 1.5. So I can rewrite it 9 over 8 divided by 1.5. And our steps for doing division of fractions means our first thing is to convert any mixed number, which is 1.5, into an improper fraction. 1.5 means how many halves in all? The whole will give us 2 halves, and one more will be 3 over 2. So we now end up with 9 over 8 divided by 3 over 2. How do we now solve this? Our first thing will be to change the division into a multiplication and get the reciprocal of the second number. So 9 over 8 times 2 over 3. And we can reduce 2 into 2, 1, 2 into 8 is 4, 3 into 3, 1, 3 into 9 is 3. So our answer is 3/4. In part 2, the question gives 2.86 plus 0.75 in brackets plus 0.481 squared. So we can work out the brackets, and using our calculator we'll get 3.61, and the square of 0.481 is equal to 0.231361. We can now add as given, and it will give us 3.841361. However, they would like us to approximate the answer to 2 decimal places. So if we look at the decimal point, the first number to the right of the point is 8 and the second number is 4. So we would like to round it off or approximate it to something with 2 decimal places. In order to look at that, we look at the number to the right of the 4, which is a 1. 1 is less than 5, so that means the 4 remains the same. So our approximated answer to 2 decimal places will be 3.84. In May 2017, number 1A, the question is to reduce the following fraction to the lowest common fraction. So we have in brackets 4 and 1/3 minus 1 and 2/5 divided by 4 over 15. And by considering the order of operations, we have brackets, subtraction, and division. Therefore, the first one we do is brackets. So we can extract 4 and 1/3 minus 1 and 2/5, put it in a little working column on the side. And the first step in addition or subtraction of fraction will be to change a mixed number to an improper fraction. So 4 and 1/3, that means it's 4 wholes. Each whole has 3 parts. So 4 by 3 is equal to 12. That gives us 12 parts. Plus we have one more part, that's 13 over 3. Minus 1 and 2/5, that's one whole with 5 parts in it and 2 more parts. So it's 5 and 2 is equal to 7. 7 over 5. Since we have changed it, we now look to see if this denominator is the same throughout. One denominator is 3 and the other is 5. Since they're different, we need to get a common denominator. 3 5s are 15. So we can use 15 as the common denominator, because if we use our 3 times table, we will get 15 in it, and we use our 5 times table, we'll also get 15 in it. So 13 over 3 is converted to something over 15. 3 times what will give us 15? 3 times 5. And if we multiply by 5 below in the denominator, we multiply by 5 on top, because we want to keep it equivalent, keep it the same. So 13 times 5 is equal to 65. Now that we know that, then we can continue with 7 over 5, converting that to something over 15. And if we're doing that, 5 times what will give us 15? 5 times 3 will give us 15. And multiply by 3 below, then same on top, 7 3s are 21. So 65 minus 21 all over 15. So we've converted each one in order that we have a common denominator. Since we now have a common denominator, we can do what? We can solve. So 65 minus 21 is equal to 44 over 15. So we can substitute back into the original equation. So we get 44 over 15 divided by 4 over 15. And now we have division of fractions. Our first step is usually to change any mixed number to improper fraction. We have no mixed number. So we continue to the next step. We change division to multiplication and find the reciprocal of the second number. So we get 44 over 15 times 15 over 4. And we can reduce 15 into 15, 1, 15 into 15, 1, 4 into 4, 1, 4 into 44, 11. As such, the answer is 11 over 1, which is equal to 11. In part 2, 3.1 minus 1.15 in brackets all squared divided by 0.005. So what they are testing is that we understand order of operations. Which operation should we work out first? Should it be the brackets, the indices, the division, or the subtraction? 4 different operations here. So since it's the brackets, we can work that out first. 3.1 minus 1.15 gives us 1.95 squared divided by 0.005. So 1.95 squared is equal to 3.8025 divided by 0.005. And using our calculator again, it gives us a final answer of 760.5. In May 2018, number 1A, the first part is asking us to consider this question with different order of operations in terms of subtraction and multiplication. Which do we do first? So 73.18 minus 5.23 times 9.34. Since we have subtraction and multiplication, the order is that multiplication comes before that using BIDMAS, BOMDAS, BODMAS, any version of those. We can see that multiply comes first. So if we multiply 5.23 times 9.34, that will give us 73.18 minus 48.8482. Now we use our calculator and subtract, we get 24.3318. However, they want our answer to 2 decimal places. As such, if we look at the decimal point and we count 2 places to the right of the decimal point, that will give us the second 3. So we need to approximate it up to that point. So we know it's 24.3 something. We look to the number to the right of the 3 to see whether or not it changes it. The number is 1, it's less than 5, so the 3 remains. As such, the approximation is 24.33. In the second part, 3.1 squared divided by 6.17 plus 1.12. What students got problems with is to recognize which order we worked out first. Since there was no brackets, the next most important operation would be indices. So 3.1 squared, and when we work that out and then we can divide by 6.17, we got 1.5575 added to 1.12, and that will give us an answer of 2.6775. That's a complete exact answer. However, they would like the solution to 2 decimal places. So just as above, we look at the decimal point and the number to the right is 6, that's the first decimal place, and the second number is 7. So we need to approximate it to 2.6 something. Let's look at the number to the right of the 7, and that is another 7. That 7 is more than 5 or more, so it means we're increasing the 7 to 8. As such, our final answer will be approximately 2.68. As we've now come to the second video of solutions for computation and number theory in CSEC Mathematics. The first being where we did the 5 years of May 2009 to 2013, and now we've done 2014 to 2018. Our next video will be one on 2019 and onwards.